Imagine this. What if your own thinking became so crystal clear, so undeniably transparent, that it started to make the people around you just a little bit uneasy? Think about it. What if your words, your mere presence, even the thoughtful silence you held began to subtly pull away the carefully constructed masks that others often wear simply because of the unwavering honesty you've cultivated within yourself? Now, most of us instinctively connect the idea of clarity with a deep sense of inner peace, right? A calm, still mind. But what if the initial journey toward achieving that profound stillness was, in reality, anything but peaceful? What if it involved a necessary period of disruption, a sometimes uncomfortable confrontation with deeply ingrained beliefs, and perhaps even the unexpected experience of resistance from those whose comfortable illusions are inadvertently challenged by your newfound perspective? Could the earnest pursuit of inner clarity sometimes lead to a temporary feeling of isolation as you navigate a world that often seems to prefer the familiar, if somewhat hazy, landscape of ambiguity? Because here's a potentially unsettling truth to consider. In a world where the majority of people seem to be moving through their thoughts in a kind of semi-conscious state, often accepting inherited opinions and prevailing societal narratives without any deep or critical scrutiny, someone who is genuinely awake, someone who possesses the courage to truly see through their own carefully constructed illusions, can be perceived as, well, frankly, a little terrifying. And this isn't just an external reaction. The very first and often most significant confrontation with one's own deeply held beliefs can be the most frightening aspect of all. You see, we are, in many ways, subtly conditioned to prioritize rapid-fire thinking, to have a quick answer readily available for almost any situation, to engage in the often superficial dance of quick-witted banter. Opinions in this environment often come cheap, and immediate reactions tend to take precedence over thoughtful consideration. But genuine clarity, the kind of profound understanding that truly has the power to transform your entire perspective, is not a commodity that can be acquired impulsively. It is painstakingly earned through dedicated periods of stillness, through an unwavering commitment to the sometimes challenging practice of self-honesty, through the deliberate cultivation of intellectual depth, and, perhaps most crucially of all, through the persistent and courageous willingness to examine your own underlying motivations and inherent biases without flinching, without looking away. This deeply introspective gaze, this unflinching self-assessment, is often the most daunting aspect of this entire journey, precisely because we, as human beings, are often far more comfortable directing our critical gaze outward toward the perceived flaws of the external world than we are turning that same discerning eye inward toward the often uncomfortable truths about ourselves. We currently inhabit an era that is undeniably defined by an overwhelming deluge of information, a relentless and often chaotic barrage of sensory and intellectual stimuli. The endless, hypnotic scroll of social media feeds, the seductive promise of instant answers readily available at our fingertips, the constant and often overwhelming stream of shiny, attention-grabbing digital distractions. These technological marvels, while offering undeniable benefits, can also subtly function as a sophisticated form of mental anesthesia, often discouraging prolonged periods of genuine introspection and the kind of deep, focused thought that true clarity requires. And yet, despite this constant and often overwhelming external stimulation, doesn't there exist a persistent, almost primal yearning deep within us? A profound and often unspoken craving for something that genuinely transcends the often superficial nature of fleeting digital interactions? Aren't we paradoxically, in the very midst of this seemingly endless digital feast, actually experiencing a deep and pervasive starvation for something more substantial, for genuine depth, for authentic meaning, for a real and lasting connection to something true and significant? Clear thinking, the kind we're talking about, isn't a digital download, is it? It's certainly not a trendy life hack, that can be instantly implemented with a few taps on a screen. You can't simply input a clever prompt into a sophisticated AI and expect to effortlessly emerge with profound and lasting insight, nor is it a convenient app that can be seamlessly installed on your smartphone. Instead, it represents a fundamental and often challenging transformation of your entire cognitive landscape, a gradual and often uncomfortable evolution of your inner world. This profound transformation begins within you, in those quiet, often overlooked moments of genuine self-reflection, when you finally summon the courage to ask yourself the most fundamental and often deeply unsettling questions about the very bedrock of your most cherished beliefs. Why do I find myself automatically gravitating toward this particular viewpoint? What are the often hidden assumptions that are subtly underpinning my most deeply held convictions? Whose voice am I truly amplifying when I so readily express this particular opinion? Is this belief genuinely and authentically my own, forged in the sometimes harsh crucible of personal experience and rigorous critical thought? Or am I perhaps merely echoing a narrative that has been passively absorbed from my surrounding environment, a narrative that has become so familiar that I now mistake it for my own internal voice? Consider for a moment the often profound and sometimes unsettling power of genuine silence. In our relentlessly noisy and digitally saturated world, true silence has become an increasingly rare commodity, something we often actively avoid, a seemingly empty void that we instinctively rush to fill with any readily available form of auditory or digital stimulation. We compulsively scroll through endless social media feeds. We constantly immerse ourselves in podcasts and streaming music. We engage in an almost perpetual stream of often superficial chatter, all perhaps in an unconscious effort to evade the potential discomfort of truly confronting our own unfiltered thoughts in the stark stillness. But what if this very silence, this seemingly empty and often feared space, is not actually a void at all? What if it is, in fact, the fertile and often overlooked ground where our deepest and most authentic insights begin to slowly germinate, the quiet and often unacknowledged sanctuary where the subtle whispers of our truest self can finally begin to be heard above the deafening din of the external world? What if the profound and genuinely transformative answers you are so diligently seeking are not actually to be found externally, in that next captivating article that promises to unlock all the secrets, in that next thought-provoking video that promises to change your life, or in that next viral social media post that everyone is currently talking about? What if these crucial and deeply personal insights are, in reality, patiently awaiting your focused attention within the intricate and often unexplored labyrinth of your own remarkable mind, perhaps currently obscured only by the constant and self-imposed clamor of the outside world? Centuries ago, the remarkably insightful philosopher Michel de Montaigne, whose words we've been exploring, grappled deeply with these very fundamental questions about the nature of self-understanding and the pursuit of truth. He never presented himself as some kind of unapproachable sage who possessed a set of ultimate, unattainable wisdom. Instead, he offered something far more relatable, far more human, and ultimately far more enduring, a profound and unwavering commitment to the often challenging practice of radical honesty. This was not a casual or superficial self-assessment. It was a rigorous and often deeply uncomfortable dedication to observing himself in all of his inherent contradictions and very human imperfections, with an unflinching and persistently unwavering gaze. And his timeless and remarkably prescient words continue to resonate with us across the vast and ever-expanding expanse of history, precisely because they tap into that fundamental and enduring human yearning for genuine authenticity. In a world that is so often saturated with artifice and superficiality, his writings serve as a powerful and enduring reminder of the profound and often underestimated value of genuine self-awareness, and the often courageous act of confronting one's own deepest truths, no matter how uncomfortable they might initially seem. Clarity, the kind we're striving for, is certainly not about aggressively asserting your opinions with greater volume or engaging in boisterous and often unproductive pronouncements. It is absolutely not about wielding your hard-earned insights as some kind of intellectual weapon designed to belittle or invalidate the perspectives of others. Instead, true clarity emanates a quiet yet undeniably potent power. It subtly and often imperceptibly shifts the very atmosphere of a room, not through forceful declarations or overt displays of intellectual superiority, but simply through the undeniable authenticity of your presence, the quiet confidence that comes from a deep and genuine understanding of yourself and the world around you. It cultivates an environment where genuine connection and truly meaningful dialogue become not just a possibility, but an almost inevitable outcome. Could this transformative power, this quiet depth and unwavering commitment to truthfulness, ultimately reside within you? Is it a state of being that you too could consciously cultivate and nurture within yourself? Absolutely. But are you truly willing to embrace the inherent discomfort that inevitably accompanies the often challenging process of shedding long-held illusions? Are you genuinely prepared to navigate the potential feelings of isolation that may temporarily arise as you begin to perceive the world and, perhaps more importantly, yourself, with a newfound and potentially unsettling clarity? Are you ultimately willing to stand alone, if necessary, firmly and courageously grounded in your own evolving and deeply personal truth? So, where do we go from here? What is the practical and actionable first step that we can take on this ongoing journey toward the profound benefits of greater clarity? In this very moment, I gently invite you to consciously and deliberately disengage from the pervasive digital distractions that so often dominate our modern lives. Gently close the lid of your ever-present laptop. Deliberately place your smartphone on silent mode, turning its brightly lit screen away from your immediate attention, and then, for just a few moments, simply listen. Listen attentively to the subtle sounds that remain in the quiet space around you after the incessant stream of digital notifications has finally faded into silence. This seemingly empty space, this often unacknowledged stillness, is not a void to be feared. It is, in fact, a profound and often overlooked source of invaluable instruction. It will begin to subtly reveal to you what truly resonates deep within your core, what genuinely deserves to be nurtured and consciously retained. It will also gradually illuminate what no longer serves your highest good, what ultimately needs to be consciously acknowledged and released, the outdated beliefs that subtly constrict your personal growth, the draining and often toxic relationships that deplete your precious energy, the unnecessary and often unacknowledged burdens that you have perhaps unknowingly carried for far too long. This quiet and consistent practice of introspection will ultimately guide you, step by deliberate step, toward the conscious creation of a life that is far more authentically aligned with your deepest values, your truest aspirations, and your most genuine self. If you choose to embark on this transformative path, this courageous and often challenging journey into the profound realm of greater clarity, be prepared to relinquish certain familiar and perhaps even comforting aspects of your current reality. You will likely need to gradually let go of the often superficial ease of readily accepting popular opinions without engaging in deep and critical thought. You might find yourself becoming less reliant on the fleeting and ultimately insubstantial validation derived from the often transient agreement of superficial acquaintances or anonymous strangers. And perhaps most significantly of all, you will inevitably begin to dismantle the often comforting but ultimately limiting illusion that you have already attained a complete and unshakable understanding of yourself and the endlessly complex world around you. And this ongoing process of conscious letting go, while it may initially feel somewhat unsettling or even a little frightening, is ultimately a profoundly liberating act. These discarded comforts, these relinquished illusions, are often the very anchors that have been subtly and persistently holding you back, tethering you to a metaphorical shore that is not truly your own, effectively preventing you from courageously venturing into the deeper and far more rewarding waters of genuine self-discovery. And in their place, in the space you have consciously created, you will gradually cultivate something truly rare, something deeply valuable, and something profoundly empowering, a resilient mind that possesses the remarkable capacity to weather any external storm with unwavering fortitude, precisely because it has diligently and consciously ceased the often subtle but ultimately self-defeating practice of internal self-deception. You will begin to develop a strong and unshakable cognitive foundation that is firmly rooted in truth, both in your increasingly clear perception of the external world and, perhaps even more importantly, in your deeply nuanced and evolving understanding of your own intricate and endlessly fascinating inner landscape. Consider for just a few moments the profound and often untapped potential that truly resides within a mind that is increasingly unburdened by the often heavy weight of illusion. A single individual who is genuinely committed to the ongoing practices of honest self-reflection and clear, articulate communication possesses the subtle yet remarkably powerful ability to gently but effectively shift the entire trajectory of a conversation, gradually elevating it from the often shallow realm of superficiality to a more meaningful and deeply engaging space of genuine exchange. And when these authentic and increasingly courageous conversations begin to multiply and permeate the fabric of our daily interactions, they collectively possess the remarkable and often underestimated power to subtly tilt the very axis of an entire culture, gradually guiding it toward a greater collective appreciation for truth, for empathy, and for a more profound and lasting sense of shared understanding. And a culture that is increasingly grounded in the solid bedrock of truth and mutual understanding ultimately holds the remarkable and often unforeseen capacity to heal deep-seated wounds, both the visible and the invisible, on a scale that we, in our current limited understanding, may not yet be able to fully comprehend. Therefore, I gently implore you, begin this important work. Take that first courageous and deliberate step into the often unexplored quietude of your own remarkable mind. Embrace the initial discomfort that may inevitably arise, knowing with a deep and unwavering certainty that it is simply a necessary and ultimately temporary precursor to the profound and lasting benefits of genuine clarity. The transformative journey of self-discovery patiently awaits your courageous first step. If this exploration into the profound power of clarity has resonated with you on any level, and you'd like to delve deeper into similar thought-provoking ideas and perspectives, please take a moment right now to like this video. And if you're interested in joining a community dedicated to exploring these kinds of transformative concepts, we warmly invite you to subscribe to our channel for more insightful content in the future. Your kind support truly helps us to continue sharing these important ideas. Thank you so much for listening and for taking this journey with us.